How long does it go on?
Until we've dealt with all our enemies.
Hey YouTubers, you may have thought that we were through with all this red wedding business, but Game of Thrones had one more surprise up its sleeve. Don't worry, the North always remembers. This might have been the last episode of the season, but don't worry about going into dragon withdrawal because I'll be doing Game of Thrones videos all year long. So let's talk about some of the big moments of the episode and what it means for season 4. I feel like the big oh shit moment was actually the reveal of Ramsay Snow. That wasn't as big of a revelation, especially considering the birth of Reek. High fives if you already figured out that the person directing all of Theon's torture porn was actually Ramsay Snow. They had actually talked about the character before season 3, but the actor claims that HBO did not allow him to tell people who he was playing. They just referred to him as the boy. I feel like none of us were really surprised that Joffrey went bonkers again in this episode. I did expect Tywin to slap him in the face, but don't worry, he'll be getting his Joffrey slap much later in Season 4. I'll actually be talking about that Joffrey slap in my Season 4 preview video for King's Landing. There'll actually be a link to that at the end of the video, so stay tuned. But let's talk about the real aftermath of the Red Wedding and Arya's escape. How horrible was it for her to have to see Grey Wolf's head sewn onto her brother's shoulders? That was a really big moment in the book, and I wasn't sure they were going to include it on the show. But then again, after that red wedding scene, I feel like all bets are off. So the Hound and Arya escape, and I feel like even though their future together is really uncertain on the show, given her Vagar Morghulis coin, she's actually going to use that at some point. I feel like they're actually one of the best pairings on the show, next to Sansa and Tyrion and a few other characters. I feel like the scene where Arya murdered one of those guards was actually a really good example of the juxtaposition of these two characters. You have this giant killing machine who's just really terrified inside, and then you have this tiny little girl who you would think is really helpless, but really just worships death. In fact, it really feels like the Hound is Arya's sidekick rather than it being the other way around. Valar Morghulis. I'll actually talk about the moment where they part ways and Arya ends up using her Vagar Morghulis coin. That's not coming for a little bit, but I'll cover it in one of my Season 4 preview videos. Speaking of pairings, how much did you love watching Tyrion and Sansa bond in this episode? Obviously, they're bonding for very unfortunate reasons, but it's really nice to just see them be mischievous together in a real playful way. The disgraced daughter definitely belongs with the demon monkey. High fives to Tyrion for not letting Joffrey use the Red Wedding against Sansa. More on those two in my King's Landing Season 4 preview video. Now let's talk about our favorite moments from the episode. There were a bunch. Even though it was one of my favorite moments, I already mentioned the Tyrion-Sansa scene. Let's talk about Gendry and Davos. I both just love the fact that they bonded over women and rivers of shit. I feel like Gendry really sums up why people run into problems in George R.R. Martin's stories. Big words, no clothes, what would you have done? Am I right? And I really love that final scene between Cersei and Tyrion when they're getting drunk together and they say, when is this going to end? I feel like the producers just include this just to let you know that there basically is no end to this. There's always going to be some other enemy. I mean, think about it. Dany isn't even in Westeros with her army yet. And there's the army of the White Walkers. There's always going to be someone else trying to kill them. So overall, I give the finale a B just because it does a really good job of closing some of the smaller storylines and helping set up storylines that'll carry over into the next season. Remember, this is actually just the first half of A Storm of Swords, so next season we'll get the second half of the book and probably a few events from the fourth book. The showrunners did say, though, that they're all about zero population growth, and because of all the extra characters in book 4, we're going to have some big departures from the book to the screen. So there will be even more changes than there have been in previous seasons. I feel like the finale overall actually did a really good job of transitioning from a really sad moment to this really uplifting moment. So you have Jon Snow and Ygritte basically doing what I would think of as the Wildlings version of a high school breakup. I shoot you with 3 arrows, we're broken up. It's all good. After that, I might cry a little bit. And then we transition to Dany and Yunkai, where the slaves lift her up as their mother. This is what they say, Missa. It basically means mother. She's the mother of dragons, and now she's the mother of all these people. I'll talk more about what Dany and her army are going to do in my Season 4 preview video for her. So I'm going to be posting all those Season 4 videos in the next week or two. Be sure to subscribe to get them all. I'm really excited. You can send me your questions. I'll try to answer them all. I also include a lot of that information in the description too, especially links to other content. You can actually watch my Season 4 preview video for King's Landing by clicking here right now. Plus, I'm also posting a preview for The Desolation of Smaug with Benedict Cumberbatch as the voice of Smaug tomorrow. You can click here to get that. I'll update the annotation as soon as I post the video. Thanks for watching, and high fives for big words, no clothes.